You've got Kit, you've got Squarespace, maybe you've got Podia, maybe you've got Kajabi. You've paid for all of them, set them up, but somehow things still aren't really working right. Maybe leads aren't coming in, maybe purchases aren't triggering the right emails, maybe your website looks okay but converts at basically zero. This isn't necessarily a tool problem, although maybe you have too many that do kind of the same things. This is a tool connection problem and we're here to fix it. Hey, I'm Delana. I work at Kit and I've been building tech and systems backends for online businesses for 10 years. I have looked at tons of solopreneur setups over the years. I'm in the actual accounts looking at the automations and the actual places where things are supposed to connect. And sometimes it is not as clear cut as it should be. The most common thing that I find are people who have the best tools, but they're not connected and talking to each other. So they're paying for a bunch of different platforms and each tool is out there doing its own thing instead of them actually working together as a system. So nothing's connected, nothing's automated, and you, the business owner, are spending too much time manually doing things that should be happening automatically. This is video 2 in the Why Is Nothing Working series, and today we're talking about getting our platforms to actually talk to each other. If you haven't seen video 1 yet, I will link it in the description, but you can totally watch this one without having seen this one. But you can totally watch this one without having seen that one yet. But you should go watch it when you're done with here. Before we dive all the way in, here's one thing that you can do right now. I want you to make a list of every platform that you are currently paying for and what it is supposed to do for your business. If you don't know what it's supposed to do, or you know you don't have it set up yet, go ahead and make a note of that as well, and we will work on that today. I just want you to have an idea of where you're starting with this. So what's the actual difference between a tech stack and a tech system? A tech stack is the list of tools that you're using. Kit, Squarespace, Podia, Kajabi, Canva, Dipsado, the list goes on and on and on. The system is how those tools connect and talk to each other. What triggers what in which app, what the person on the other side of your business actually experiences as they move through it. A system is the path from this person found me online to this person is now on my email list to this person bought something for me and actually got what they paid for without you having to do a single thing manually. Most people have a tech stack because it's really easy to go online and have all of these people shouting at you, you need this app and you need this app and you need this app and you need this app. And if you're not sending emails through here, then they're probably going to spam. And if you're not using your website through here, then you're not getting found on Google and all of the things, right? So when you don't actually know what it is that you need, it's very easy to fall into that trap of like, I need all of these things because so-and-so told me that that's what I needed. But if you don't know how to get those tools to talk to each other, then you kind of just wind up with a bunch of disjointed tools that aren't talking to each other and creating a lot of more manual work for you. So let's say you've got Squarespace for your website, you've got Kit for your emails, and you've got Podia for your courses and digital products. Those are 3 solid platforms that I recommend often, and they are totally reasonable choices for solopreneurs. But depending on how things are set up, and this very much could be dependent on just simply the instructions that you found, okay? Because Kit and Squarespace don't natively integrate with each other. You have to embed Kit forms onto Squarespace in order for information to get sent straight to Kit. If you're using a Squarespace form and you want to send subscribers over to Kit, it's a completely different process. The Squarespace forms can look better on your website because they are native to the Squarespace designs, but they don't send information directly over to Kit. So you could have a Squarespace form that's sending submissions to a Google Sheet because that's what you have to do. And if you don't have it set up to go from the Google Sheet into Kit, then things are getting lost. Or you're going into that Google Sheet and manually adding people to Kit, which means there's a delay between them signing up for whatever it is that you wanted and them actually getting it, because they won't actually get sent it until they are added into Kit, whether that's automatically or manually. Or let's say that you have a Kit welcome sequence inside of Kit and it only actually has 1 email that's sending because the other 3 emails are drafts. Forgot to turn them on, forgot to finish them, got distracted and didn't come back. Whatever it is, if they're set to draft, only the first email is going out. Or maybe your Podia and your Kit accounts were never connected, which means anybody who makes the purchase through Podia is not getting added to Kit like they should be added to your email list. So they're getting their product and maybe like a welcome email from Podia saying, here's how you access your product, but they're not getting any other kind of warm up or nurture from you after they've purchased that. Or let's say you have a freebie opt-in that isn't actually firing off the sequence that sends them the freebie. It happens, even with the best of intentions, sometimes it just happens. And none of those are necessarily platform problems. Like you didn't pick the wrong platform. It's not necessarily broken. They just haven't been connected together to talk to each other to do what needs to happen when somebody signs up or when somebody makes a purchase. Basically, you can have every tool doing exactly what it was designed to do, but still have a business that's kind of like feels messy because you having to touch a lot of things manually that you really shouldn't have to. So let's talk about the 4 connection points that every solopreneur setup needs to have working. So the first one is your website to your email platform. I touched on this like a hot second ago, but let's say if you're using Squarespace and Kit, the built-in Squarespace forms don't connect to Kit. There is another way that you have to do that. It doesn't just send that info straight over. The easiest way around this is to use Kit's forms and embed those onto your website in a blog post or on your homepage or wherever it is that you want it. If you're using Kit's forms, then that information is going to go and there's no other connections that you're going to use. If you're using Squarespace forms, there is like another way that you have to set that up. And I have a video on it. Might be a little dated. Maybe I need to redo it, but I will link it here just in case you do want that. But the bottom line is your website should be connected to your email platform so that when somebody signs up on your website for your freebie, they receive that freebie automatically and are added to your email list. I use Kit and Squarespace as my examples a lot because those are the 2 platforms that I use, but this goes for whatever it is that you're using. If you're using a WordPress website, you need to make sure that your forms are connected to an email platform, whether it's Kit or something else. Squarespace forms do connect to MailChimp. MailChimp isn't an email platform that I recommend typically, but if that's the easiest connection for you to get started with, then by all means, do that. And you can use the Squarespace forms and it can send that information straight over to Kit, straight over to MailChimp. But regardless of what you're using, you need to make sure that when somebody signs up, they go to your email list and are sent the email with the thing that they requested. The second connection point is your opt-in or your freebie to your welcome sequence. Kind of like what I just said, you want to make sure that when somebody signs up, they get your freebie and then continue to get your welcome sequence after that. A lot of times what happens is people will get the freebie and then not get placed into a welcome sequence, which then, unless you're really, really good at sending out weekly emails or something, it opens up a void for people to fall into and forget who you are. So you want to make sure that you have some sort of automated, welcome sequence that just kind of says who you are, how you help them, maybe give some additional tips on top of whatever it was that was in your freebie and that sort of thing, just to like warm people up to you a little bit once they first sign up to your list, because that's when they're going to be the warmest to you. And you want to make sure that they remember who you are so that as you continue to send emails, they stay on your list, open them, read them, all of that fun stuff. Number 3 is your email platform to your product delivery. So basically this is just when somebody purchases your product, your email delivery system needs to know about it. That person needs to get sent over to your email list platform. So they need to go from Podia to Kit or from Kajabi. Well, if you've got Kajabi, you may use Kajabi email, but if not, then they need to go sent to Kit or Flodesk or whoever it is that you're using. They should also be tagged as a buyer at that moment as well, just so that you know this is somebody who has spent money with you before. It also lets you pull them out of any sales sequences for that specific product because they've already purchased it, so you're not going to try to sell them on it again. That's a good way to annoy somebody and get them to unsubscribe from your list, and we don't want to do that, right? Basically, you just want to make sure that you have it indicated on your email list that somebody has made a purchase from you so that you can send them appropriate and specific emails accordingly. Maybe you need to leave them out of sales sequences like I just mentioned. Maybe you need to put them into a product sequence for the product that they just purchased, and all of that can happen automatically, but it's just something that you need to make sure is set up on the back end when somebody makes a purchase, that they get tagged with those things so that those specific email sequences and things happen. And then number 4 is product delivery. And this can vary depending on your setup. Of course, all of this varies kind of depending on your setup. But with this one in particular, you want to make sure that when somebody makes a purchase that they're actually getting access to the product that they purchased. And the reason I added this in there is because I have one client, for example, who we have checkout pages running through Thrivecart, but Thrivecart is not where we're hosting the products. They are in Kajabi. So there is no native connection between Thrivecart and Kajabi, which means we have Zapier in the middle. And the reason we have Zapier in the middle is because we don't want people paying for something through Thrivecart and then not automatically getting access to it inside of Kajabi, right? So we have Zapier employed in the middle of this to make sure that that happens. So what you want to make sure happens is especially if your checkout pages are not in the same platform as your actual products, you want to make sure that that connection is set up so that people get what they pay for immediately. Even if your checkout pages are in the same platform as your products. So for example, if you're using Kajabi and you're using Kajabi's checkout pages, you also just want to make sure that that checkout page indicates that when somebody pays for this thing, they get access to it. Okay, you want to make sure that that product delivery is set up to grant access immediately upon purchase, because you don't, again, want somebody trusting you with money and then them not getting access to the thing that they just paid for. And if you're not new to online business, then a lot of this stuff is probably going to sound like a no-brainer. But if you are new here, I just want you to understand that these are not always things that are super obvious that need to be pieced together. So I want you to see how the different pieces connect together so that you don't end up lost or thinking that people are getting added to your email list when they're actually not, or thinking they're getting the freebie when they're actually not, or thinking they're getting your product and they're actually not. I want to make sure that you have these pieces put together so that all of that is working the way that it should be. So those are the 4 places where tech setups most commonly break. And the reason most people don't catch them is because everything looks fine from the outside. Unless somebody actually tells you that they didn't get access to something, you might not know right away that it's broken. But once you know what to look for, you can kind of audit these things yourself, test them out every so often, maybe every month or every couple of months, just make sure that they're still working the way they're supposed to. And that's also what the After Hours Tech Audit is designed to help you to do. It's a free guide that walks you through kind of auditing the back end of your business so that you can see which apps are actually serving you and which ones aren't, and maybe which ones you can cut out, and are they connected together, and are they running like they're supposed to. It's not a course, it's not a webinar, it's like a quick reference guide that you can work through in an afternoon to make sure that your tech is set up the way that it needs to be for your business to run as efficiently as possible. If that sounds like something that you need, the link is in the description below. Again, it's completely free. So the takeaway here today is pretty simple. The tools are not necessarily the problem. It's usually the connections between the tools that are the problem. And fixing that connection is probably less complicated than rebuilding from scratch, especially if rebuilding involves migrating a lot of content over, because I do migrations regularly and it can be a lot. So before you start thinking about switching platforms completely, let's just see if we can get what you've got working for you. All right, that's it for today. Next week, we will be talking about email list growth in the 3rd video in the Why Is Something Working series, and I will see you over there. Bye.